Yeah, I think I do recall.
Did you hear about the tariff that Canada is putting on Michigan and
Oh, wow.
3 states that are along the border? 25% tariff on electricity?
Oh, my gosh. I don't blame them. All right, it's 6 o'clock. We'll stand for the pledge.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just a reminder to silence your cell phones. We'll start with roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Here.
Councillor Horton, Councillor Klinkhammer,
Here.
Councillor Lundstrom, Councillor Scavizzi,
Here.
Councillor Spradlin,
Here.
Councillor Tyree.
We do have a quorum. We can continue. Approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections? I'd like to add, we didn't do a board appointment during the last meeting, but I want to finalize it tonight. So we'll do a board appointment in management after the Planning and Zoning Commission board structure. And if somebody else has that. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Wait for motion?
Ma'am?
Yes.
Do you have the mic on? We can't hear you out here.
We don't,
You don't use it?
The mics that we have are for the broadcasting system and not projection, but we do have some devices that can be used to help amplify the sound with some earbuds that you would place in your ears. Anyone who would like a set, I can get that for you.
Well, I have hearing aids and usually I can comprehend pretty well, but yours
I'll
is
try and
pretty
speak,
soft.
I'll try and speak up a little bit.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that. Okay. You want to make a motion on the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda with the addition of the board appointments.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councillor Spradlin,
Yes.
Councillor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Councillor Scavizzi,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any corrections for the minutes last month? Last meeting?
Nope.
All right, for motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of February 24th, 2025.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Councillor Scavizzi,
Yes.
Councillor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Councillor Spradlin,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. All right, that motion passes. All right, visitors and delegations. First, we have Sarah House here to do a presentation, and we'll present our donation to you.
Thank you. And thank you for
Oh, I got
that.
it over here.
Oh, you have it? You want to do it or you want me to do it?
Do you want to come speak at the,
Yeah, she was just looking for that.
oh, gotcha.
I don't know what you want.
Yeah, you're good. You just point right at the computer, farther away.
Over there.
Yep.
I am Paula Bragg, and I'm the director of the Sarah House. And so I just did a small presentation. I understand that there are some new members to your council, so I thought maybe it just help to give you a little rundown of what we do. So we have multifaceted victim advocacy at the Sarah House. Most child advocacy centers in the state are only child advocacy centers. But because of where we live, we wear multiple hats. So we have the Child Advocacy Center, where we provide forensic interviewing of children and forensic examination of children. We have the Sexual Assault Center for adults, where we offer advocacy, forensic interviewing again, and forensic examination of adults. Domestic violence victims come into our office as well. And the reason for that mainly is because our nurses, our nursing staff, are also trained in strangulation assessment. And so they come in for that kind of medical need, and we provide them services while they're at our office. And we offer services to some longer term. And then social change. So we provide a lot of outreach programs in the schools and in our communities. We serve the 13th district, which is 7 counties in the northeast region of Colorado. So last year, we served 294 clients, 920 services, 125 forensic interviews of kids, adult sex assault examinations 18, child sex assault examinations 5, and strangulation examinations 11. And I've worked in this field for a very long time, and I had never heard or sought a need for a strangulation assessment on children, but we had 10 cases last year. We do a lot of outreach programs and also are pretty involved in all the health fairs throughout the district. We have 3 offices. I don't know if that's part of this or not, but we have all the 7 counties: Morgan, Logan, Yuma, Kit Carson, Phillips, Sedgwick, and Washington counties. We have 3 offices, one in Fort Morgan, one in Sterling, and one in Yuma. We were just recently acquired a really beautiful house in Yuma for our services as well. Keith Bath assisted us in being able to have that house. When kids come into our office and are forensically interviewed, they draw pictures of either their face or a picture that they just want to draw. And we put them in our hallways so that when kids come in, that they see they're not alone, and that we see a lot of kids. And when we say we see a lot of kids, it's true, and they can see that with their own eyes. We have 2 SANE nurses, sex assault nurse examiners. They do wellness exams, and though we mentioned, I can't remember how many cases we had last year, but wellness exams we offer to every child that comes into our office, and so they weren't really counted, but that wellness exam is basically to ensure the child that their body is healthy. We have an MDT team, and they serve on that multidisciplinary team of law enforcement, the district attorney's office, the Department of Human Services, the medical providers, and other people that might respond to sex assault come, and we meet once a month. So that just tells you a little bit about what they do. This is just a picture of one of our forensic interview rooms. We try to keep it really simple, yet comfortable for kids. We interview mostly between the ages of 3 and 18 of our child interviews. We also interview at-risk adults, and now we have a FETI interviewer. We've had her trained for a couple of years now, which is forensic experiential trauma-informed interviewers that actually interview adult victims of domestic violence and sex assault as well. We are also one of few agencies in the state that have Spanish-speaking forensic interviewers and victim advocates. So we're able to offer that specialty and are asked to assist other communities in our state. We do work with victims with disabilities, and I told you about the FETI interviews and the multi-session and follow-up interviews. So sometimes our interviews require multi-session instead of just one. This is an observation room. You can see the screen on the wall. So while an interview is happening in the forensic interview room, our multidisciplinary team watches the interview. So anybody that is involved in the case can watch the interview as it's happening, and we can communicate with the forensic interviewer if she's missing some kind of information. These are just some more rooms. The one on the bottom is our Yuma office. The one on the top is the playroom in the Fort Morgan office. They all look very similar. Our MDT team, we actually have 3 multidisciplinary teams, one in Fort Morgan, one in Sterling, and one in Yuma. Sterling and Yuma, we meet 6 times a year, and in Fort Morgan, we meet 11 times a year. And the purpose of those meetings is to review cases that are current new cases, and we continue to review cases until they have made it through the court system and/or Department of Human Services. We have 2 people who go into the school districts and talk to our kids from ages kindergarten through probably juniors in high school. Jeff Pope works in the high school, middle school, high school level. He was a teacher at the middle school for a number of years. And Natasha Ray has formulated a program for little kids just to teach them that they own their bodies. It's called Body Safety Superheroes. So they're the superheroes of their bodies. So these are kind of the ages we work with. Probably our median age is age 8, probably 8 to 10, but we see all ages. And that is all in a nutshell. I want to thank your community for working with us. We have a great relationship with your police department, and they're part of our agency as well. And I want to thank you all very much for your support every year. I appreciate it very much.
And thank you for the important work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming.
Okay. Next, we have citizens' comments. Citizens are invited to speak to council on any item that does not have a public hearing scheduled. There's a 5-minute time limit per person unless otherwise noted by the mayor. Please note that no formal action will be taken on an item that is not posted on the agenda due to the open meetings law provision. However, they may be placed on a future posted agenda if action is required. To better assist you with questions, please submit them in writing to the city clerk, and someone from staff can respond. Do you have anybody here for citizen comments? Yeah, go ahead and come up to the podium and tell us your name and your address.
Teresa Rossi, and I'm at 522 Colorado Avenue. And just a random comment is the pothole that has been in front of the house. I know you guys have patched it, but we have so many tractor trailers that blaze by there. It shakes my house, it shakes my neighbor's house. My walls are cracking. So, I mean, when they're doing construction on whatever they're building next to us, maybe they could patch that pothole or something too, because I'm gonna have to look into like some foundation work and stuff, because you got loaded trucks hitting it speeds. You know, I'm not the speed police, but they're well over 30 miles an hour. And I mean, it's woke me up at night, it's woke her up at night. I mean, it's kind of terrifying. So.
All right, well, I appreciate you bringing that to our attention
All
and
right, thank you.
get that noted. All right, anybody else?
Who's gonna go first? Kim?
My name's Ken Weiser. I live at 441 Samples Avenue, which is directly across from your sand dunes. So there was a sizable group here last summer who had the same complaints and were assured that something was going to be done about it. Well, after last week's storm, it's obvious nothing has been, or at least nothing that works. I think it was comparable to a Sahara Desert sandstorm. For an example, I have a fairly well-built wood shop and garage, again, right across from the sand dunes. And I had to take my car to the car wash today that was parked inside the garage. There was so much dust and sand on it. In my wood shop, it's going to have to be totally vacuumed or something, because if any of you do woodworking, you know the critical part or the toughest part is the finish, right? Got to have a pretty dust-free environment. Well, I had that until this project across the street was begun. An example, I called Graham's to see what it would take to clean that room. Over $5,000. everything has to be moved, everything has to be vacuumed to get it back into the shape it was prior to that. The concerning part is, again, nothing's changed, but gotten worse. So how long do we have to put up with this? And what's our recourse? What has the city done? Planted a cover crop in November? Really? Who's in charge of this project? I'd like a name. Who-
Dale will be addressing this whole issue
Well,
during his
maybe he should
report.
go first, and then we could talk about it.
I have to, Dale's in charge of that project, so, I know we have a
Um,
construction company that's,
Because I don't know anybody around here that plants a crop in November and expects it to do anything. Number one, last year was very dry, and November's pretty late in the season. I don't believe our agriculture people plant their winter wheat in November. So, again, what's going on? A lot of taxpayer money expended out there, and now a lot of taxpayer damage.
Well, we'll hear from Dale here,
Yep.
kind of get an update, because we don't.
we've been discussing it, and he's
Maybe you
gonna.
should speak first then, but.
Well,
so
we
Well,
kind of got to go in the order of this here.
Well, this is
agenda, or
just
we get in
public
trouble.
comment period, this isn't really a back and forth thing, but we are aware of the problem, and Dale's on top of it,
We
and
were
so,
aware of the problem last, I
Right.
believe it was July.
Mhm.
Now we're 6, 7 months later, we have the same problem, only it's getting worse.
Yep, Dale's
We have the
gonna-
whole month of March.
Thank you, Ken. Anybody else?
I'm Judy Jensen, I live at 446 Howell, and I'm the one who gets the brunt, because I'm right across from the hill. And I agree, I'd like to know what the plan was. Is there a plan to begin with of how they were gonna deal with this, knowing that's a sand we all built over there on the sand, and the city was on us all the time when we were building to control the dirt. So Bob Denon called my husband when we were building, and he said, "Hey Jim, can you go over and cover it all with manure so we can try to keep that sand down?" We brought in hay bales, we did all of that. When you go anywhere else and you see these kind of building projects, they have planned. There's straw down, there's mats down on those hills, you can see what's on the interstate. And my whole yard is pretty much covered in sand that I've worked 16 years now to get rid of the sand and get that soil built up, and now I'm covered again. So we have to have some direction going forward, because the winds are gonna, it's coming. And now, if something isn't put on there to cover, planting it again isn't gonna take care of it. It has to have something covered on it. So.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm down here, I live at 430 Howell. I have one of the 3 garages that are in the alley between Howell and Cambridge. And last week during the windstorm, there were times you could not see across the alley because the dust was blowing so heavily. If I had a sandbox, I could have filled it today when I cleaned up the driveway and the garage. Has the city paid for that, completely paid for that
I don't
project?
think we're done. No, it's not complete.
Okay. Then my point on that is immaterial. But something needs to be done, as has been stated. You told us you'd take care of it. You planted grass along the top, but you didn't plant it along the side, and that's where all the sand's coming from. The crevices that washed out and blew out are full of sand again. And it's very fine sand, and something has to be done. Put it in Dale's part, because he's the director of public works, and he's got to find the problem cure for the whole issue.
Yep, he's on it. He's gonna fill you guys.
We need a time frame too.
Yeah.
We need a time frame. The weather forecast for this week
Yep, we got
is called for huge
blowing in Friday.
winds.
Anybody else? Eric?
My name is Doug Kelly. I live at 425 Howell Avenue. I was a dryland farmer for 23 years. And what I see out there in the golf course is a mess. Once sand like that starts blowing, it's really hard to stop. And planting it in November, that should have been planted in September, early part of September. That's when we planted wheat to cover up our sand. Farmers I have talked to that have been by there were shaking their head in disbelief, but you guys thought you were gonna hold that in place. I will say, it's not just dirt. I can sweep up dirt, I can blow it off, I can wash it off the edge of my lawn. It's getting in the attic of my house. I don't know the extent of that damage. It's considerable. And there's a lot of finger pointing going on. It was June when we were here before. And you did say you were gonna take care of it, and yet here we are again. How many times are we gonna have to show up before you actually do something? There's a contractor has a water truck up there. I doubt that one water truck can contain that. You guys have a water truck across the road, and you won't put it up there to stop the dirt to help the people that live in the town. I don't understand it. I just would hope that you do better.
Yep. Yep. Anybody else? So, like I said, I appreciate you all coming and giving us your concerns. We know it's a problem, and I feel awful. I know it's bad, but Dale we've talked about it. He's going to address everything during his report, so that will come here shortly. All right. All right, we'll move on to management if there's nobody else. First, we have our Planning and Zoning Commission structure. Tyler.
Oh, sorry, no, not me. You can take the lead on that, Miranda? Yes, I am.
I had you as taking the lead on for working with.
You were trying to like this.
I was gonna go set up for the next part.
I mean, I
Okay.
can cover it if you want me to.
If you wouldn't mind, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So what we have done in the past with our Planning and Zoning Commission is we have 3 members, I wasn't prepared to talk about this, I'm sorry. 3 members from council, 4 members from council, the mayor, and I believe 2 members, plus a liaison from staff, an administrative staff member. And when Jerry Dahl was out here to give us training on land use, annexations, special use permits, or anything that would come before planning and zoning, he did express that we might consider looking to fill one of those positions or phase out some of the city council concentration on that board and instead look for another member of the public to fill one of those seats. And so it is something that is governed in statute rather than city code. And so one question that I would have for Dan Krob is in the language of the statute, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, it uses the language shall instead of may, and so does that restrict us?
So you're not putting me on the spot. I looked at this for another municipality because it is an issue in a bunch of places. I do agree with Jerry Dahl. The shall is mandatory language, and I'm trying to pull it up right now. My internet's being a little slow. I believe there's a provision after that that's the state statute says this is what your makeup of your planning and zoning should be or shall be. And I think there's language after that says unless modified by ordinance of the municipality or local governing body. So, and I apologize, I'm trying to pull this up as we speak. I think we can end up wherever you guys want. I would agree with Jerry's recommendation that for a quasi-judicial hearing that might come in front of you as the board, that we should put people other than council members on the planning and zoning. But as far as making that proper to state statute, I'm gonna have to look at that.
So is that something, so it just has to be kind of written in differently before we can?
More than likely an ordinance, is that right, Dan?
Yeah, I believe so, and I apologize, you have to change your Westlaw password every so often, and I'm in the middle of doing that. Is this something that we can move to another agenda item and then retouch once I'm able to pull it up?
Yep.
All right, sorry about that.
That's okay. We kind of threw it at you. So I'll move on to the board appointment. Last meeting, we did board appointments, and we had Brush Housing Authority. Councilor Klinkhammer had done Brush Housing Authority liaison before, so we wanted to see if he wanted to do that again before we did any appointments. And I've spoken with him, and he would like to do it again, so I would like a nomination to appoint Scott Klinkhammer to the Brush Housing Authority.
I move we appoint Councilor Klinkhammer to the Brush Housing Authority. Second.
Any discussion? Everybody's good with that? All in favor? Roll call vote?
Councilor Horton?
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin?
Yes.
Councilor Scalisi?
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Was that enough time, Dan?
I'm reading through, it's broken down by statutory, municipal, and home rule, and town versus city and all that, so if I could have just another couple minutes, I could probably
Since it's
give you not a guess, but an answer.
probably nothing that we're going to vote on tonight, maybe you could do it during your report. Would that work? Or should we keep it under business items?
Maybe we should keep it under.
Okay, we need to keep it under management.
Well,
Or
at last meeting, Dan, we were hoping to vote on this tonight to give you direction to move forward with the ordinance. Would it still
Okay.
be okay to keep it under management?
Yeah, we can do it either way.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So, because really we're giving you, we're voting to give you direction to write it as it needs to be written to appoint, not have the structure that it has, so it's not so council heavy, right?
Yeah, and just so I'm clear on my direction or what your motion may be to vote on, it would be to draft the necessary ordinance to make the composition of the planning and zoning board less council heavy.
Okay.
Is that accurate?
Yep. That sounds
Okay.
like what we had discussed.
Yep.
So, does anybody want to make that motion?
I move we direct Dan
Directed.
to draft an ordinance that changes the planning and zoning committee structure to be less council heavy.
Second.
Any discussion? Does that sound right, Dan?
Yeah,
That works.
that gives me sufficient direction if you guys want to
Perfect.
vote on that.
Yep. All right, roll call vote?
Councilor Scalisi?
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin?
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer?
Yes.
Councilor Horton?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. All right. Thank you, Dan. All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next, we have a public hearing for a special use permit application by Gertz Technology. So I'm going to open the public hearing and have a staff report from Tyler Purvis.
All right. Slide real quick. Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. So there's two special use permit hearings. Since they both have generally the same structure to them, I'll spend a little more time on the structure on the first one and the second one a little bit briefer when we get to that one. So Gertz Technology, They have requested a special use permit for the placement of a cargo container within a commercial core zoning district, which, as you can see based on the screenshot from our land use code, does require a special use permit approval within that zoning district. The location and the history of the property, located downtown on the east side of the 100 block of Clayton Street. The building itself represents significant history for the Brush community, and the uses within that property have varied since its original construction, which is in 1908, according to the county assessor's website. And Gertz Technology has owned the property since 2021. The intention is pretty straightforward if approved. For a cargo container, they want to utilize it to store electronics within an 8-foot by 20-foot cargo container for recycling, and have a place to keep it secure and use it efficiently as part of their IT services. The electronics are taking up too much space within their office space, and logistically, it makes the most sense to place a cargo container on the site at the rear of the building to store the electronics for the annual recycle pickup. That's all the language there for our special use permit. As far as guidelines go, the summary are those components: what a special use permit is, what's necessary for the hearing process and fees, the considerations or qualifications, the conditions, the revocations, and then the timeline. So there's the specific language as it pertains to what it is. And here's all the necessary public hearing components. Those are pictures of the site itself. It was published in the newspaper, and then on the right side are the mailings that we sent out to all adjacent property owners. Looking at the considerations, we're looking at the compatibility, the conformance to our comprehensive plan, and then the history of the applicant as it pertains to land use compliance. So the compatibility part, pretty easy. Adjacent uses, you can see from the screenshot there, it's all zoned exactly the same, commercial core. And so all the uses around there's nothing conflicting really with either of those. The third part of that is the impacts, which looks at traffic, noise, lighting, and parking. You can see from the short list up there, there's no concerns. The last part is parking. It's not causing any additional parking. I did ask about the displacement of parking, because at the rear of the building, this would be taking up technically a parking space. There is pretty sufficient parking in the back. To go back a couple of them, I should have put it in that slide. But you can see within there the parking that's available. For the amount of employees that they have, they're not fully utilizing the full parking because they use both parking spaces, and so it's not going to force someone else to go park their car somewhere else in the downtown area. Because I know parking can be a challenge at times within the downtown.
Will there be room for somebody to park behind it? Yeah.
Potentially. I'll let Appleton speak to that. Conformance. So up there are 4 different policies from our comprehensive plan that this request is compatible with. So supporting our business district, encouraging essentially successful business cultivation, you can say, supporting and promoting the downtown area, and then programs that encourage residents to reuse, reuse, and recycle. So the history, if I have these dates right, Gertz Technology has been business owner in Brush since 2016. They have 2 buildings down there. This one, as I mentioned earlier, was acquired in 2021. From the city side, we've had no issues with the business. They've been a great asset to the community. And so we're glad to help them out wherever it makes sense, which hopefully will be part of this project as well. Council does have the opportunity to impose conditions with a special use permit as well as they see fit to mitigate any type of impact upon the surrounding areas and that kind of thing. This is all the language that gives you the right to revoke any type of special use permit if there's any violations or terms and conditions are not met with what is put out. And then the specific tethering of the special use permit can run with the original applicant, run with the location, or be transferable. If none of those are applied, it just runs with the original applicant only. Staff comments. So the city did adopt an ordinance back in 2017. For those of you that have been around and you remember this was a growing problem around the community where storage containers were just kind of popping up. And so council intervened and said, okay, if we are going to allow these, let's put some regulations around how much, where, and those kinds of things. And so that ordinance was passed that talked about all the different zoning districts and different requirements. These are all the requirements in that ordinance. That's also, of course, a part of our land use code now. That pertains specifically to this location. So the commercial core area, only one cargo container is allowed. It's going to be treated as a accessory structure. Like I said, no more than one there. Cargo containers need to be a neutral color or match the principal structure on the lot. And they can only be used for storage, and they can't be converted to something else. Pretty straightforward. But in conclusion, staff, the land use code does provide the parameters for the use for the cargo container. We don't have any conflicts with the application, and so we recommend the approval of the special use permit with these two conditions: conformance to the standards for cargo containers in the commercial core zoning district as outlined in section 16-7-110. And then 2, this is within the floodplain, floodway, so there are some requirements about anchoring it down that we will recommend as a recommendation for council as well. Conformance to the FEMA standards as directed by city staff. Any questions?
I think you answered all mine.
Yeah, that was pretty thorough.
All right, thank you.
All right, the applicant, you want to make a present? Do you have anything to say?
I'm Toby Gerch. Nice to meet you all. I appreciate you considering this. Tyler hit all the points. We take care of about 165 businesses between Walden and St. Francis, Kansas, as well as walk-in traffic from the community with computer stuff. So as you can imagine, we acquire quite a bit of e-waste to get rid of. It was an annual thing. We'd have somebody come out and get rid of it. It's now almost become a quarterly or semi-annual process now. We just acquire it so fast, and we don't have the room for it. And the logistics of having to get it all kind of bundled up and into the recycler's hands is kind of a problem. With this, the way we envision it, they're called Gaylord boxes. It's like a watermelon box. You get the watermelon crate on a pallet, only it's going to be taller. They'll give us those boxes. We fill them up. When it's time to come recycle, they can back their truck up right up to that pallet jacket in, and they're in and out of here within 15, 20 minutes rather than a half a day of us gathering it all into boxes for them to get rid of. So apart from storage and getting it out of here, it's going to help us out tremendously. So
they take it and then bring a new one?
Yeah. So they break. So when they come, they ask us how many we want to have. They'll bring us the new ones. Then we'll have them ready to go for the next time. So works great for us. So anyhow, that's what we had. Appreciate you.
Now, when you say bringing new ones, you mean just one, right?
Well,
it's crates that go inside.
Oh, the crates that go inside.
We're thinking we're going to be able to fit about 4 to 5 of them in there.
Okay.
So that'll give us
gotcha.
much closer to be able to do this.
So they're not going to take away the whole
cargo. No, not
cargo
the
just
container
the
stays
stuff
permanent.
inside.
So we buy the
Okay.
container, it's ours.
So they just take the stuff inside and then...
pallet jack it out,
Gotcha.
take it on their trucks, and then they're on their way.
Okay.
Yep.
Does the way you're going to have that kind of backed up allow enough room for the truck to back up to without blocking the alley?
Yep, and their trucks they're a box truck that's shorter.
Okay.
So it's not that big of a deal. And to answer your question about parking, there's plenty of space to park one in there behind it. So yeah, you can kind of tell in that picture, the one car to back up about 5 feet. And the 111, so we own 109 and 111. 111 is shorter. This, I think we can nestle it in there. Maybe about 2 to 3 feet is all it's going to stick out past the 109 side. So for the most part, it shouldn't be visible. And if you've seen the front of our building, we obviously invested quite a bit to make that building look nice, and we're getting ready to invest again to reface the back of the building to make it look like the front. So aesthetics is important to us as well.
Sure.
And I've been assured the container we're going to get has only been used once, so it's in good shape. And obviously I think it's a cream color, but if it shows up and I question it in any way, shape, or form, I'll paint it to match the building so that it looks nice. That's important to me too.
Cool. Toby, a question. I know it's for your equipment that you work on and get. Are you opening up to public or just through you?
So, I mean, the public reaches out to us a lot to do recycling, and so we accept that. I know the landfill will accept it too. I just don't know what they do with the data on those drives. So part of our service, when we charge for that, is we take the drives out, and this company actually certifies shredding destruction of the drives, so they grind them up in bits so there's no way to retrieve data. So it's not a free service, but it is something that we do offer if the public has it. And we typically, if somebody buys a machine from us, we offer to recycle their old one for free at no cost to them, but we do accept it if they have something they need to recycle, and then we can bill for it.
Good to know. You guys have any questions?
Nope. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Toby. All right, now, public testimony. Members of the public have an opportunity to make statements either in support or in opposition of the application. Anyone addressing the council must first come to the podium, state your name and address before making your comments, and complete your information in the log provided. We have a log. Okay. Each party giving testimony will be given one opportunity to speak and must direct all questions regarding the application to the mayor. Do we have anybody here for public comment testimony on this application? All right. So, so we have time to kind of discuss it. Does anybody have anything to? No. I agree with Toby. His building always looks immaculate, so I don't anticipate it being an eyesore at all. So.
Is it going to be secured so people can't steal the old electronics?
That's one of the reasons why we wanted to go with a storage container as opposed to like a shed or something. We feel like it's more secure with the locks and stuff that can be added to that. And our intent is to not have anything that is of a data value in there. Like that all gets taken out and is stored in boxes in our office. It's the raw materials of what's left over after that. So, yeah.
So tell me, before you leave the podium, if in the future you decide to leave that location, would you take the container with you?
If it's required to remove it if we were to leave, I would certainly do so. I don't intend that. I plan to be here a long time.
We hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And just, I guess, another question on the security is we've got cameras all over the back of that building, so we'll be probably adding another camera or two to make sure, keep an eye on that also.
And Dan, for clarification, on those two conditions, because there's no tie on who it goes to, it automatically stays with only Toby. So if you ever sold the property, the next property owner, unless they came back before council, it'd have to go with Toby.
Okay.
Yeah, they couldn't keep it there.
All right, that's good.
Does anybody have anything else?
I shouldn't say with Toby, with Gertz Technologies.
Toby's gonna put it on his back.
Right.
No, it checks all the boxes of where they
Yeah.
can go and what they need to be, so.
Makes sense.
It's not huge or nothing, so.
I would, does anybody like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councillor Klinkhammer?
Yes.
Councillor Spradlin?
Yes.
Councillor Horton?
Yes.
Councillor Scalisi?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. All right, so now I'd look for a motion on the application.
I move we approve the special use permit for Gertz Technology.
Second.
Do you want to add with the conditions?
It's already built into it.
It's built into
Yeah,
it,
because
okay,
it's nothing
perfect.
different.
All right, any discussion?
Yeah, second.
Okay. Roll call vote?
Councillor Klinkhammer?
Yes.
Councillor Horton?
Yes.
Councillor Scalisi?
Yes.
Councillor Spradlin?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. All right, ready? All right, public hearing number 2. Thank you, Toby.
Thank you.
Another special use permit. I will open the public hearing and have a staff report from Tyler Purvis.
All right. So this one is for a duplex at 518 Colorado Avenue. Adam Garner, the applicant, is requesting a special use permit for a duplex in a residential low-density zoning district, which according to our land use code does require a special use approval. Again, a screenshot from our land use code, you can see highlighted there. 2-dwelling family unit, run it over on the table. You got your RLD, residential low density column, and then your S there means special use permit required. The property itself is located on the east side of the 500 block of Colorado Avenue. It previously had a single family home constructed, but it was demolished within the past 5 years or so. Mr. Garner purchased the vacant property in December of 2024. This is one of the shots for the foundation plan. There it is, a little bit closer there. Still a little hard to see just the way that it was designed, but it's a 76-foot by 32-foot single-level modular home placed on a permanent crawl space foundation that'll have 2 units that will be rented out. That's the gist of the whole thing. Here's some elevations, so there's from the front and the rear, and then the right and the left sides as well. I'll go back and give you a little closer look on that. Went through that last time, all the layout for special use permit, council's ability, again, public notice process, all the boxes were checked there, compatibility, conformance, and history. So adjacent uses, same story, all around is residential, zoning all around, residential low density. Use impacts traffic generation, so standard traffic for residential use, obviously going from one unit that was there at one point to two. There'd be a little bit more, but it's not likely to be anything substantial based on other properties around town. No noise concern, no lighting concerns. Parking, our code does require 2 spaces per unit, which means they're required to provide 4 parking spaces, and those will be located on the back. There is alley access along there, and so 4 spaces will be established, and that's understood with the applicant. We've had multiple conversations about that. Conformance to our comprehensive plan, there's again 4 different policies that apply to this application: supporting redevelopment, preserving existing neighborhoods, making sure that they look good, they're safe and livable, protect existing residential development from encroachment by incompatible land uses, and then apply flexible standards to undeveloped land to allow for a range of residential types. The history, the applicant has no previous owned properties in Brush. They have done similar projects to this in Morgan County. He says he's got a couple up in Snyder and some just outside of Brush. So staff comments on this. Let me read mine actually instead. So we've been discussing this project with the applicant since fall of 2024 and going over the compliance requirements that would be necessary for the placement of a modular duplex on the site. A key point of clarification for the residential low-density zoning district is that it does not prohibit duplexes, but simply that the zoning is intended for, quote, predominantly single-family use is what our land use code says. So predominantly, not solely single-family use, meaning that it does give allowance for some 2-family dwellings, thus its allowance as a special use permit request. There are a few other properties that staff is aware of in the area on that side of town that historically have been used for the same purpose, multifamily. There are no restrictions on the use of modular homes within the city, the only exception being Westwood Village that we approved last year. Otherwise, modulars can go essentially anywhere in town. They just need to comply with building code, of course, which is primarily done for modulars through the state of Colorado anyway. The plans are actually submitted through them. They get approved, and then any kind of local additions or add-ons and that kind of stuff is what would be permitted through us for the building itself, aside from the foundation. The availability of rental units has been a long-standing challenge within the community, so additional units would help address that need. And then the property is located in the FEMA floodway, and as such, discussions have taken place with the property owner to address any of those floodplain requirements. Conclusion on our side, this report would indicate that the requested special use permit sufficiently meets the requirements necessary for council's consideration for approval, including approval conditions, and if desired, council can add any additional conditions. So our recommendation is the approval of the special use permit for a duplex located at 518 Colorado Avenue with these two conditions: submission and approval from city staff of a final site plan that includes parking location. We've talked about it, but we just got to get it down on paper. Access to the units from the public sidewalk and private parking, it's essentially sidewalks there, and then a landscaping plan as well, and then conformance to the FEMA requirements as directed by city staff. Any questions?
Do we have anything in our code that stipulates access has to be from the street side?
That was one of the requirements in there with the landscaping plan. Yes, it does. Well, pedestrian access or vehicle access?
I guess to dumb this down a little bit, nothing says the front door of the structure has to be facing the street.
No, I looked that up as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons why I put the landscaping plan requirement in there, to address that up a little bit more.
Okay.
where is this in, I mean, I'm trying to picture it. Is this like right across the street from Central, the back of Central? kinda?
It's north a block on Central.
Okay, so pretty much by Halls of Ivy and that.
Yeah, it's in
duplex that-
between Halls of Ivy and Central, that block
Okay.
there.
So there's plenty of other multifamily.
Well, most of those, I think, are all, well, the multifamily with Halls of Ivy, yeah, that's right
Yeah.
down the street.
That block, but the next block where Halls of Ivy, the duplex that burned down was multifamily, and then Halls of Ivy
Yeah.
itself,
Correct.
and now Central
there's-
School.
Yep, and then there's another like fourplex up on across from Cattleman's kinda.
Yeah, a little further down,
So it's
Colorado
not,
and Alpha
it's
Society.
not like it's a totally single-family area. It wouldn't be out of place at all. And there's
Correct.
definitely a need. Okay,
Yeah.
very good. All right. Thank you, Tyler. All right, we have the applicant here. Would you like to make some comments?
Do you have any questions?
I don't think so, I think that pretty much got them all.
Awesome. And the doors are actually on the ends of the unit.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
On the picture, it looked like they were on the side.
Yeah, I think that one was just a general
Layout of it?
layout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
All right.
Anybody else have any questions? All right. Public testimony. Members of the public have the opportunity to make any statements either in support or in opposition of this application. Do you have any?
Questions?
Yeah, if you want to, we have public testimony, so yep, hop up to the podium and state your name.
Teresa Rossi at 522 Colorado Avenue. And I'm just a little confused on the front of the house or the duplexes. Is it going to face Colorado or is it going to be facing the sides?
It'll be facing the front, Colorado.
Okay, so it will be facing Colorado. It won't be facing toward Everett or...
Yeah, let's go back on the, maybe get clarification
That was the
on
only thing
that.
I was confused about. Just,
Yeah.
I just don't know if I got people looking at the front door, looking over the side
Yeah,
of
this
my
would be your
house.
neighbor, huh?
Yeah, so you're saying that.
I need to buy some different curtains or, you know.
Yeah, from the rear and from the front.
Okay, so they'll be on the line. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. I was just curious. And as far as the landscape, I think the guy said something about xeriscape. You guys are xeriscaping? Okay, because there's a septic tank and there's a bunch of other stuff that has been left in that needs to be cleaned out.
Oh, no.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's all I was worried about. Okay, all right.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything else? All right, council discussion, deliberation. Anybody have anything they want to talk about?
No?
Yep.
Checks all the boxes again.
Yep. Okay. All right, I will look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Horton,
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer,
Yep.
Counselor Spradlin,
Yes.
Counselor Scalisi,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. All right, so now we can make a motion on the application.
I'd move we approve the duplex application for 518 Colorado Avenue.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Spradlin,
Yes.
Counselor Scalisi,
Yes.
Counselor Horton,
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Okay, that passes. All right, thank you for coming. All right, we'll move on to finance.
I move we approve disbursements and payroll for February 25th, 2025 through March 10th, 2025, totaling $648,794.03.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Scalisi,
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin,
Yes.
Counselor Horton,
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. All right, motion passes. All right, staff reports. We'll start with Tyler Purvis, Assistant Administrator.
All right, just two of them tonight. I'll simplify things. So just a quick update on Central School. If you recall, we had required, although they're working on phase 2 right now, for the remainder of the project, for them to revise their plans and update those and have them stamped with engineer with all the necessary updates on that. So things went for kind of a lull over the past month and a half or so for various reasons, but got an email back from the building owner today that they're working with the architecture on those revisions. They're hoping that this week they'll get the engineer, get those in the engineer's hand for the review and hopefully stamp of approval. So again, it was really accelerated up until November or so, and then it slowed down quite a bit. And so once that gets squared away, we'll probably start accelerating again, I would guess in April if it's on that timeline that they're hoping for. Second one, I mentioned this at our last meeting as well, but just a reminder to the community that our annual tree program is up and running now. So this enables property owners within the front yard of their property to get a free tree if it makes sense. It's proper distances away from the sidewalk in the house and that kind of thing. We do have an application they can fill out online, or they can come by City Hall or the Community Development Department and fill that out. Very simple. And then the tree board members will be following up with them on the different options that are available. There's also the 50-50 program, where the city will contribute half the cost of a new tree for their backyard or somewhere else on their lot as well. So great opportunity to build trees. The downside about trees, you plant them, and then it takes a very long time to really enjoy them the way that you want to. But they're definitely planning for the future, and we love to have trees here, and more of them is a good thing, generally speaking. They come with their challenges. That's why some people say no. They got to tend to it. It gets old, so you got to take it down. But in the meantime, they bring a lot of benefit to our community. So that is up and running now up until the end of March. That's all I got.
Thank you, Tyler. Lance, what?
I just got a couple things here, just go through all the departments. At the golf course, we've had really nice weather over the last several weeks, so golf season has officially began. We've been getting a lot of golfers there. With that being said, we've had to start watering a little bit earlier than what we would have normally liked to, but with the greens and tee boxes, it's just imperative that we try to keep them healthy, so we have started watering those. We got some bids out for some concrete work that will be done at the course. We have a new sand bay that's going to be by our maintenance shop, and then the front area by the clubhouse, we will also be concreting in, so that work will hopefully be done here in April or May. Crokinole League are still continuing. We had our hood serviced and cleaned, and everything's good to go in the restaurant. I don't know if you've seen, but this Wednesday we have a breakfast burrito day. We used to do them weekly. We just did a special one this time, and we've already sold almost 200 burritos for Wednesday. So the cooks will be in there early putting burritos together and stuff. So that's actually been a big hit. It was going to be April 11th, but just to let everybody know in the public that Greg Mullen is going to actually be performing at the golf course one evening. So it still might be April 11th, but something that came up today, but he's supposed to give me the exact time. But it will be a Friday in April, so he performed there during New Year's Eve, and people enjoyed it. So he came in and goes, "I'd like to come back and do that." So I thought it'd be kind of a neat deal. So. And then on April the 12th, we'll have our first golf tournament. It's a par 3 tournament, and it coincides with the Masters. And so there's a few other events that will be going on but the par 3 tournament, we're taking registrations for that. Within the Parks and Cemetery, we've been cleaning up all the old decorations within the cemetery, and also all the wreaths that we laid during the National Wreath Laying. I can't even remember what it was called. But anyway, we do that during Wreaths Across America. And so we are picking those up as we are starting to get ready for our spring maintenance and all that sort of thing. So if someone notices the wreath's gone, we are picking those up and throwing those away for the year. And then the parks are also getting all the restrooms open and stuff within our parks, and getting all that stuff going. And they built a pump house that will be used at Prairie Trails Park, and I got some more updates on Prairie Trails Park in a little bit. Within the Recreation Department, we had a great presentation from Dale last Friday on our water rates and also the recycling program within the city. It went on and on and on. It was very, very good, very informative. And so our next meeting is March 28th, and that's at the VFW at 10 o'clock. Mikhail Mayers will be presenting along with MCC's president, Dr. Coates, about the opportunities of older active adults within the community at MCC. So they'll be doing some presentations there, and Mikhail, of course, will be talking about the chamber programs and some of the different events that will be coming up here in the near future. We also have, the AOA group has put together a place now that the city will host a afternoon dance on Sundays. Our first one will be April 6th. It'll be from 2 to 5 at the VFW. The first one is just going to be, it'll be free for anybody who wants to attend. And then after that, it'll be $10 a person. There'll be some snacks and everything offered. But the band is coming down. It's going to be live music and kind of a kickoff. And there's a lot of different, it seems like every town has a Sunday they take. So there's kind of a traveling group of dancers and everything. And so that should be pretty fun. Baseball and girls fast pitch, we had our assessments and we are now underway and starting to begin practice. And we got a good turnout this year and lots going on. So that's going to be busy out at the ball fields. Our St. Patrick's race is this Saturday, March 15th at Brush Memorial Park, and it's supposed to be 70 all week until the race, and then it's supposed to be another storm coming in. So we'll see how that works. But we do have live music, corned beef and cabbage, and of course green beer. So we will be enjoying ourselves one way or another on Saturday. And then April 26th, we have scheduled our first gambling trip that we've done in several years, and that will be to Blackhawk, and we will leave at 8:30 from the rec office. It's $30 per person, and we still do have a few spots left. It's been filling up pretty quick, so that is something that we'll be doing. As far as Prairie Trails Park, we do have it completely drained now, so we are now ready to fill it back up. That's going to be kind of a couple month process because of water allocations and all that sort of thing. So we will probably do that in either April and May or May and June. That's kind of the plan right now. So we will be filling that up. Gary Potts will be marking some locations that we will, for our city water line, and then our city crews will be installing those. Gary will be installing a sewer line, and then hopefully we get infield mix in April or May, and sod laid in June, and fencing and backstops in June. So hopefully we'll be able to have a usable field by midsummer or so. So that's the hope, as long as everything works out. So that's where we're at with that. Is there any questions I could answer?
That was a lot.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You've been busy. All right, Public Works Director Del Colbert.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. First thing I want to do is address the situation over at the golf course with the blowing sand and the pond and everything over there. One of the things that we have to be careful about is we have to give the contractor every opportunity to correct any deficiencies of the like. If we try to intervene too soon, then we can be held in breach of contract. As such, we believe at this point that it's been insufficient on a very big level, and we have that opportunity at this point to intervene without any fear of breach of contract. And so with that, this project has been plagued by several different severe weather events. I know last May, June, there was a large windstorm that came through that created a lot of issues with the blowing sand and dust. Then we had that 1,000-year rain event that just compounded everything. As far as any timing of planting any grass or vegetation, again, that has to be up to the contractor. I can't speak to that again. We cannot interfere with the contractor with some of what his tasks were to be done. We had a really severe wind event this last Tuesday. We had sustained winds of 40 with gusts up to 60 miles an hour. That stripped a lot of vegetation, and as well as a lot of blowing sand and dust. The good news is that the vegetation that was planted out there is starting to recover. It's starting to peak up a little bit again. But again, we do know that there's going to be an event coming in this Friday
And so at this point in time, the city's going to help intervene with the watering and everything else, get that thing dusted down. As far as long-term, or hopefully even in the immediate term, the slopes need to be repaired. We can't seed into a bunch of rills and gullies that are carved in the side of the hill. So one of the first things that needs to be done is repair those slopes, and then we'll get in there with a tackifier, and then we will do a hydro seeding and a mulch, and put down geofabric for the slopes so they don't erode again. While I've requested a meeting with the contractor, I have not heard back from him yet as to what our plans are and why we're doing what we're doing. However, that doesn't mean that we're going to sit back. We are currently in the process of obtaining quotes. We've started that last week, obtaining quotes to get what we feel needs to be done to correct the situation. And so as far as the timeline, I can't give a timeline. I can't give a cost because we don't have any of that information back. We're waiting on other remediation contractors. The other thing I want to point out is that we will have the sweeper there throughout that area tomorrow, as we had personnel gone last week and the weather at some point in time was not conducive to get the streets cleaned or anything like that. But I talked to the street sweeper today, and she will be out there tomorrow to help because it's been dry enough that now we can pick it up. And so that's the current situation that we have right now, is I believe that we have given the contractor every opportunity to take care of it, and it's been insufficient. And I don't believe that any reasonable person or court would hold us in breach of contract. So with that, I'll entertain any questions from the council.
So you'll be out there with water trucks this week, later this week?
Yes.
So it's all wet for Friday?
Yes, we also want to make sure that what seed is starting to try to recover from being stripped from that windstorm, we give it every opportunity to try to thrive and get up until such time that we can proceed with our bigger plan of getting the slopes fixed and get a tackifier down on everything and get our hydro seed out.
So Dale, you mentioned the slope repair. Is that a project that contractors should be doing?
That's why I need to have that meeting with him.
And if they are not in a timely manner going to do it, is the city going to do it?
Yes, we have to.
Okay.
We have to. I mean, this is past that point.
Yeah.
We have to. We don't get a choice at this point. So, but I feel at this point in time, we're not at any risk of breach of contract by stepping in and intervening. So.
Is there a possibility he could be at which contract?
I haven't looked at that deep yet. It all depends on his cooperation in getting some of this finished.
Well, is that the carrot or the stick that we need to use for the
I
contractor?
think it's a stick that looks like a carrot.
Okay, well.
Big stick.
Big carrot.
Who is the contractor on that again?
That would be, that's RBE Excavating.
And where are we at with the project that we started doing? We're done with our project now. It's just kind of the cleanup at the end and.
Right. I mean, the infrastructure is in place, and so that's the one good news for a project that seems to be a magnet for a lot of calamity, is that it should not flood that intersection of Emerson and Cambridge anymore. I mean, it was already demonstrated earlier, last year, that it was able to take care of the amount of flows it's actually been directed to that point. And that's why it's really important that whenever we look at developments, we look at the storm water, we look at the flows, we look at the capacities, so we don't ever put other developments in the same situation where they're constantly being flooded at every turn. Been here almost 35 years, and I can say at least 34 of those almost 35 years, that intersection has flooded up to houses and into basements ever since I've been here. So this should take care of it.
So we're able to fix that.
We're able to fix that. Yeah, I'm not sure if this was a Buffalo Wall graveyard that's spirits are coming back to haunt us, but we gotta get it fixed.
Get it fixed.
I think we've done we've been patient enough.
Did we get the other issues that were fixed along that project, like the yard and?
No, that's something else that I believe that we're gonna have to also pick up on. So, I had been assured that yes, it would be taken care of, that's why I got to visit with the contractor, find out when is it scheduled. If it's not scheduled, we'll take care of it. Again, that's what I explained to the residents there at that address, that, you know, I have to give the contractor the opportunity to correct any situations that come up. And if he doesn't, then the city will. And that's where we're at.
Okay.
So are we able to bill him for that?
We'll have to see how that all works out, how it plays out.
Okay. So with the new storms, there'll probably be more of that stuff coming up too.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up yet.
Stuff.
I know that there's a lot of change order that came up due to changing site conditions and extra asphalt and extra concrete that had to be plugged into that project because of, well, mainly because of that 1,000-year event. I mean, that's not the contractor's fault, and that's not the city's fault. That was an act of God. But still, it has a price tag to it.
Sure.
And so we still have to be able to make right on all sides. So. Okay, next item that I have is we will have sewer cleaning going on over the next, hopefully starting Wednesday this week and continuing on into next week. We'll be cleaning on the south side of Brush, so all the sewers south of the railroad tracks will get a cleaning. We will also go east of Cameron Street, all the way over to the east city limits, all those sewers as well. The line that goes from Love's over to our 18-inch main, we'll be cleaning that as well. That is it's a fairly large line, and yeah, it does get sufficient flow, but keeping in mind that it also takes RV dumps, and so we just want to make sure that stays cleaned out. And then, of course, we have certain areas that we do annually because we just know they're trouble spots. So we'll be getting those done. I'll be getting with Tyler or Loranda about the areas that we're going to be cleaning. So we just want to make sure that residents know that when we do clean this, sometimes it creates a vacuum and it'll pull all the water out of a toilet or a P-trap or anything, some things like that, because of the vacuum that because it is high velocity water jets that we use. And so we just want to make sure people refill their P-traps and their toilets and such. And there's going to be the occasional unfortunate that it will sometimes go the other direction. So people are aware. With that though, I believe 522 Colorado had left, and it's not a pothole, it's a manhole. This happened long before my this is my predecessors and that's a CDOT highway. First of all, and with that CDOT highway, they paved that back, I believe, back in, I want to say the 90s. And when they did that, their contractor, CDOT's contractor, did not reset the manhole ring and lid at a good elevation. And so as these trucks do go through there, they do hit, and by the way, the contractor says it met CDOT specs. That may be so. However, it does not meet the residents in that area. I mean, it creates an issue. So one of the places that we need to clean this year will also be up Colorado Avenue where we have that. And so I am currently in the process of also getting a CDOT right-of-way permit, not only to allow for the cleaning of our sewer lines in Colorado Avenue, but see if we can't get a contractor to come in and make that manhole better than what it is, because I don't have any clue as to when CDOT's going to come back through and repave that. So hopefully we can address this concern as well. I've heard from several people about that manhole being, it really does jar and create a lot of vibration. So while we have the highway shut down, now's a perfect opportunity to get in there and get that raised up to where it's a lot smoother, but it's not a problem. So, and finally, I do have information about, I met with South Platte Solar today. That's NextEra Energy. You maybe recall that from 2 years ago, There was discussions about them putting in a solar field in and around our well field, and it's in our watershed protection district. Met with them today. It was a very good meeting, explained to them our concerns, why we are looking at, you guys need this permit, and these are going to be some of the requirements that we're going to ask of you when you do put in that solar panel field. And so it was a great meeting to have. Just be aware that probably within the next month or so, at work session, and possibly quite more than one work session, we'll be discussing the terms and the conditions of this watershed protection district permit. So, and again, only council can approve these permits, not staff. We can only give a recommendation. Okay. Also, tomorrow, speaking of raising manholes, on County Road R, we had an opportunity a couple years back when the county was paving the DLD, or County Road R. They were doing an overlay. They came up to our city limits and they said, hey, if you got the cash at the same price we're getting it for, do you want us to continue on through city limits? We said yes. They said, hey, the only problem is you got manholes here, and it's just like, go ahead, pave over them. And so we'll have crews out there tomorrow bringing those manholes back up to grade as well. So have a little bit of sewer manhole work coming up. So if you're out on County Road R tomorrow, watch for crews. Okay. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Chris Western, Finance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a quick update for you on our progress with Paycom. We will be moving to a bi-weekly pay schedule beginning March 16th. So our first bi-weekly pay will be Friday, March 28th. So we'll be moving forward with that. As we move forward, we'll be utilizing the web time clock for all of our hourly employees. So no more paper time cards or timesheets, moving away from paper, going electronic. We've been doing a hybrid for a little while, for the past few months, so now it's time to go full Paycom. So that's our goal. So as we move to a bi-weekly pay schedule from being semi-monthly for so many years as well, it has created a lapse in pay for our employees. So a bridge payment will be included in their March 28th pay to help close the gap and to keep our employees whole and in line with their annual compensation. So training was held last Friday, and more to come as we continue to implement Paycom to its full capabilities. So that's where we're moving forward. Any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Linda.
First, to further address the sound here in council chambers, because Ken, you're not the first one to bring it up. We have found that those who already wear hearing aids are underserved in this room. And so I'm trying to remember how it's been explained to me in the past. It has to do with the size of the room and the fact that we use our mics to broadcast. I believe the explanation was that we would have feedback if we did both. But I will check into that again, just to make sure that, you know, if there's anything we can do, that we employ that. Then just to mention, the digital accessibility efforts are ongoing. It's something that is addressed by all government agencies in the state of Colorado, and that is something that we are very much working on, and it's going to be an ongoing project for us even after the July 1st deadline. That was an extension. This all started clear back in 2021. The first deadline was July 1st of 2024, and they have extended that out as far as when you can start seeing penalties for non-compliance until July 1st of 2025. And then the last thing to bring up is that we will be having the swearing-in ceremony for the police department next Wednesday, March 19th, here in this room at 6 p.m. And that's all I have.
All right, Dan Crabb. He's still there. Oh, wait, I missed somebody. Hold on. Nope. I checkmarked your name before I called it.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I don't have a whole lot, but I wanted to fill you in on some of the positions that we're looking at right now. We are taking applications for an academy spot coming up. We also have water and part-time trash. Otherwise, just been doing a lot of work with Chris and Paycom to get that all going on the HR side of things and the usual day-to-day.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Kim.
You bet.
All right, Dan, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually, while we were listening to this meeting, did some research, and it does look like the state statute has a default. We can do an ordinance to amend it, and I just sent an email to Monty and Loranda and Tyler asking what they thought, but I'm now talking it out loud, probably want your guys' opinion. The default in the state is 5 members. One's the mayor, one's another council member, and as ex officio members, and then 3 appointed. What I've seen work well is 5 non-council members, non-mayors. But I obviously, out of respect for you that are holding those seats, don't want to just oust you without permission or without the council's vote. So if you guys have any direction on that, what you'd like to see that planning commission board, please let me know.
Okay.
And I don't really have much else to report. There's a couple negotiations going on that I'm working with Monty that we'll bring to you shortly, but I'm sure if he wants you to, if we're at a point where you need to know about it, he'll let you know.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
All right, Mayor and Council reports.
Yeah, nothing.
No. I was going to talk about the calls I got about the sand, but that's been addressed, so. So thank you all for showing up. I think that's it. Right. So I look for motion to adjourn so we can move into our work session.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned and we'll go on work session.
So then, so that next
Is it possible to get a
spring break, he stayed at home all day with his brothers.
tonight's meeting?
Yes, and I'll tell you how to do it. I'll come down there.
My father-in-law,
Okay.
so grandpa's going to stay with him all week.
I found the best transcript to come from our newsroom. And if you would
So
like
it's probably in that
that
house, but I don't know
know
how it's going to be when I get home.
You don't want to go home, do you?
Yes and no. I'm tired of driving.
Yeah, it's weird not having Mr. Owen.
I was out north at that windstorm. The sand was blowing everywhere.
Yeah. Did you end up on the south side then?
What's that?
Did you end up on the south side?
About 300 feet of my foam insulation did. I was sitting down with wire and everything else. I'm like,